Welcome to this programme called Channel Clusters. It is a series of films to help Welsh and Irish food and drink producers to make more of accessing markets. We provide insight into the mind of the buyer, what they want from producers, how they buy, when they buy, the types of product they are looking for, the margins they require to run their business, and some information on customer profiling. Each channel cluster in Wales and Ireland has a leader. The leader provides access points for producers. He or she then mentors and coaches those producers in how to present new products effectively and also how to keep their product listed in the store.
The sorts of things that we would do in a typical cluster is to identify a market opportunity. That might be with a wholesaler, it might be with a retailer, it might be with a farmer's market or a farm shop. Identify the broad opportunity and then link food producers with that opportunity. And the activities can involve identifying gaps in the market, looking for what sort of products that those outlets require, and linking the two businesses together. The sort of advice that we'd give to producers ranges from everything from the basic pricing of the product, the presentation of the product, what it's packaged in, how often it's delivered. It's thinking of all the basics that the buyer is going to ask about. So that's the initial advice. It's thinking about then the market where the product is going to be sold and getting those producers to imagine their product on shelf and how is it going to stand out. They've got to think about those things before meeting the buyer because the buyer will be given lots of opportunities. He'll have phone calls on a daily basis where people are trying to offer him things. So you've got to stand out. You've got to have something which is going to make that buyer think, I need your product, that's going to do my business well. That's a good thing for me to have in my business. And if the proposition is put, I think, in a total way, to where you've thought those things through, the buyer is very difficult for them to say no.
When somebody joins the cluster, we'll tailor a support project, a support program for each client within the cluster, and that might include either a new brand or tidying up the brand, certainly advice on that. It can obviously include advice on marketing, social media, and really getting that whole presence ready for a national sales campaign rather than just selling perhaps at sort of local events. So it gives their brand more weight and it gets them retail ready, not just necessarily in the local area but also on a national basis if that's something that they can support. If a client is very Welsh and sees their product very much as sitting in a Welsh market, perhaps with the tourist season and selling through Welsh farm shops, that's something that some of them aspire to, but certainly part of it is getting people to be retail ready on a UK-wide basis. The rationale of the cluster is to enable people to grow their business. And some people see their key marketplace as Wales, but increasingly people are looking over the border. And so what we're trying to do is to help them to reposition their branding and their products to have a broader appeal across the UK. When somebody moves from selling at farmers markets and selling direct to the consumer, the bulk of the money that they're making is their margin. The next stage is selling through farm shops and delis, and then of course a farm shop and a deli wants to take their retail margin as well. You add a distributor into the operation and perhaps you've got another 25% to find. Yes, they're taking the product, they're picking, packing, dispatching it and doing a lot of the sales and marketing as well, but that all has to be found within the producer's margin. And so often selling through distribution has to go hand in hand with perhaps a step change in volume or production methods, perhaps moving to a unit, taking on more staff and investing a lot more in the business. And so all of that are aspects that we can work with clients to see whether or not they're ready to take that sort of step.